Okay, so last but not least, I'm finally here with John Walters, the guy who's been on these movie podcasts I've done since day one. And the cool thing about John is that we actually got together to see this for the first time in person at my house. And he lives like over an hour away, but we set a date for it. We both took off work, like we ordered some food in, and like, okay, we're gonna watch this 4+ hour movie. And we tried to do it at a time where neither of our wives and kids were home. So it just kind of worked out perfectly. Like he ended up coming over my place, and we watched it. That was a really cool experience, and I'm glad we got to do that.
Yeah, man, I was really glad we got to do that. I just remember, seeing the trailer for it, and I was just so hyped on this movie, and I ended up like texting you, and I was like, it was like a month, was it like a whole month beforehand? I was like,
Yeah,
man, would it be awesome if we could just watch this together? And it kind of like that's how the ball started rolling a little
yeah.
bit,
You were like,
like
man, it's a shame we can't do it, and I'm like, wait a minute, why can't we?
yeah, yeah,
And
and
so
I'm
that
so
that
glad
that's
we
just
found a
how it.
way to.
Yeah, so we found a way to make it happen, and that was I mean, because like, look, we live a little farther away from each other than we used to, so we don't get to hang out as much. So it was great. It was like one of the first times I've had like I actually had friends over post COVID. So
Yeah, yeah, we ordered pizza, I brought some
yeah, that
popcorn.
was perfect.
It was awesome. It was
Yeah,
great.
it was pretty epic. So we got to see it, and like we used to work together for years and years, and like back
Right.
when Man of Steel came out, that I think is like how we actually like got to meet and become friends like outside of work, just like talking like, wow, you're into DC stuff too, me too, and then
Yeah.
that just kind of spiraled, and then like when I finally started doing my podcast, I had you on, and so on and so forth. So um, yeah, so I mean, obviously, this is something that we've been paying attention to for a while.
Oh
I
yeah.
know that it seems like the general consensus with this movie is with the Snyder Cut is that it seems to have be pretty positive all around. Like if you like these kinds of movies, you're gonna like it. But if you don't like Zack Snyder or that style of movies, then I don't know if this is gonna like change the minds of people who were fans of it to begin with. Like I don't
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. I mean, like if you like comic book movies and you like Zack Snyder stuff, then you're really gonna like this. But if you weren't fans of it, this isn't gonna be the movie that changed your mind for
Yeah,
sure.
because there are people
It's
who like love Marvel but can't stand the DC movies, or people who like DC characters but they don't particularly like this iteration of them, which
right.
is fair. Like that's fine. Not
Sure.
everyone's
Sure.
gonna
Sure.
gonna be on board for it. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, there were people who hated the original Justice League, the Whedon cut, and then seen this and completely turned around.
I think that's been the case for like more often than not, as
That
far
seems to
as
be
like,
the overall consensus.
well, I mean, I think was it in on Rotten Tomatoes, it has a way higher critic score than the original. And then of course they have the what is that? The regular fan score.
Yeah, like the
It's like
critic
it
score
was
and
like
the
a
fan score, and
yeah, it was like a 95% fan score. So it's like super high as far as like overall people are really enjoying this movie.
yeah. So, I mean, it boggles my mind just all the behind the scenes drama that's been going on around this movie when people are like clearly there's a fan base for it. Like clearly
Oh
people
yeah.
are on board. But yeah, just maybe just the way that company is organized, it's just the whole thing was just sort of kind of thrown together from the beginning. And I feel like it's one of those cases of like there being too many cooks in the kitchen. And
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
you look at the way that Marvel Studios is run versus how DC Films is run. DC Films, by the way, like they didn't set up like a separate studio until 2016 because they had Man of Steel. They're like, okay, well, we need to build our own infrastructure to compete with Marvel. I think that sort of premise was sort of flawed from the beginning
Yeah.
when they were trying to catch up when they could have just seen what they were doing and like kind of taken notes and then done their own thing with it. I don't know. That's just me.
Well, I mean, like, I mean, they don't have, you know. everybody's stuck on the Marvel formula, and it's like you don't have to do the Marvel formula. You can do your own thing. The problem is the meddling of like, oh, we don't want, no, we want this, no, we want that, we don't want this, all during the movie. The whole too many cooks in the kitchen type of deal. It's like that's where the problem is. Like you can have a different formula. You can have this long Justice League movie where you're introducing these characters, and you can have like it's pretty much a little origin story for each one, except for Superman and Wonder Woman, because we already had them by the time this movie came out. So I mean, like, you can have this kind of formula. That's fine, and as you can see, people really like this movie. But it's the whole process, like during the making of the movie. Like, okay, you hired Zack Snyder or you hired this team of writers and to like make this movie for you. Let them make it. Like, okay, you're gonna front the money and you'd like to have so and so, on this movie. Well, let them make it. Like, once you give it to them, let them do it. And so but they don't do that, and I have to play devil's advocate because, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars here that the studio is fronting out. So, I mean, if I'm the one that's shelling out hundreds of $1,000,000, I mean, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, you go do your thing with my money.
Especially because Zack Snyder has a very distinct style. He's a bit of an auteur. He has these like grandiose visions, and I feel like sometimes at some level there needs to be someone keeping him in check a bit. Sometimes I kind of feel it. I put it to you this way, John. Like, these characters have been around for the better part of a century. You have all this vast mythology to draw from.
Yeah.
It feels like it shouldn't be this complicated to tell these stories. And yet somehow it gets, because of all the behind the scenes red tape, all the politics behind it, it's just, it seems like it shouldn't be this difficult to create good movies with these characters in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so the problem has been the leadership with WB, and I think, and I've gone back to listen to some of our podcasts, like I listened to our Batman v Superman podcast, and I'm like, and I like, you can, in my frustration, I could tell, like I could tell that there was a good movie there, but there were like things that were like almost disorganized, and that was because, I could tell that WB was trying to like move things around, saying you got to cut some of this, you got to shorten this. We need to, be able to show more of this movie. I mean, more showtimes. You need to cut this out. And so when you start doing that, it makes a movie that looked like it was going to be good to like, now you're cutting it up to make it something else. So it's not really, I've never had a problem with like some of these writers, or especially Zack Snyder. I could just tell it's the leadership behind all of it, and like with Marvel, you've got one central figurehead like running the show, right? I mean, he's definitely got it. And you basically kind of had that with Zack, because he was the one running the show for it, but then he had leadership telling him all different kinds of things. And now, even for the Justice League movie, the 2017, I think like 95 or 98% of the leadership that was there that messed up with the movie, they're all gone.
Yeah.
They're all gone. Like Walter Hamada and like, or was it Fujihara? I can't remember, but like,
see, I think when they set up DC Films, originally it was Jeff Johns and John Berg. And then I think currently it's Walter Hamada and Chantal Nong. I'm not sure who that is, but she's like
maybe it was Fujihara that was there then.
Yeah, I think he was in Warner Brothers, but not necessarily the DC division. I don't even know. But,
he was a part of it. He was a part of it somehow. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is the leadership is definitely gone. There's a lot of really bad stuff going on with Jeff Johns coming out, especially with Josh Whedon coming out in 2017. So.
Well, I mean, the whole thing about Ray Fisher, it's like a he said type of thing, and it's just a mess.
Well, it's not just Ray Fisher.
Well, yeah, I know Momoa and Gal Gadot is coming out and saying some stuff, and
it's.
I mean, Joss Whedon sounds like a complete scumbag of a human being, like based on everything I hear about him.
All I can say about Josh right now is like, I mean, first of all, he seems like he did it to himself. It seems like all these allegations are pretty true. But like, with that said, he must be ticked that they let the Snyder cut out because like now now it's like it makes him look really bad. You know,
Yeah.
now people are starting to figure out like, oh, there's the good stuff was Zack's stuff, and the bad stuff was Josh's stuff.
Well, yeah. I
You
mean,
know?
both personally and professionally, it's made
Yep.
him look bad.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Anyways,
But
I
let's
go ahead.
backtrack to your fandom of this a little bit because I know you loved Man of Steel.
Yes. Yep.
I know that you, like me, you had issues with Batman versus Superman when it came out in the theaters, but like the Ultimate Cut kind of really changed your mind about a lot of that.
Yes. Yes, it did. Yeah, no doubts. Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so anyways, you had a question about all that? Go ahead.
no, I was just wondering, comparing this, going into the original Whedon cut of Justice League.
Hmm.
Were you okay with that film? I know that you knew what was going on behind the scenes, or like you had an idea that this wasn't what it could
Yeah.
be, but were there still things about that cut that you liked?
Oh, yeah. Well, you see, there was the theatrical cut. You can tell it's like there's some really good stuff in there, and then there was some really bad stuff in there.
Right.
And like I remember coming out of it, I was like, like I love comic book movies, so like I can be entertained. What happened in 2017 or the Josh's League, I could say.
Yeah.
It was entertaining. Like I was entertained. It wasn't some amazing movie that was like in on the category of Man of Steel or Captain America or
Right.
anything like that. Like no, it wasn't. It was just it wasn't. But it's funny because they were still using scenes that Zack made.
Right.
So like now that I'm looking back at it, that's what kind of saved the film for as far as making it entertaining was really seeing Zack's original scenes in there. All the other stuff, it's like, head scratchers, between the look of Steppenwolf
Yeah.
and everything kind of being rushed and not really knowing a whole lot about Cyborg in that film, which that's like a huge travesty what they did to
Yeah.
Cyborg's character. And the same thing with Flash. It's like Flash was kind of like it was kind of weird. I mean, like I understand he's still the comedy relief, but like in that movie, he just could not. He was useless in that movie. It's like he didn't know what to do. He's never saved
Right.
anybody before,
It was supposed to be a
apparently.
very, very early, inexperienced Barry Allen, which
Well,
is I didn't have a problem with it necessarily, but he definitely had more to do in this version.
well, he even in this version, he's not. He's not. He's seems to be pretty experienced
Right.
in this version, because he never says like, oh, I don't know what to do
Hmm.
or anything like that. Like he even mentions like, hey, when I approach the speed of light, weird things happen with time. So
Yeah,
like
he seems a bit
he's
more experienced,
obviously,
or at least a bit more
yeah,
confident than he was in the previous version.
exactly. He maybe he's not used to fighting a whole lot of bad guys and aliens or anything like that, but like he seems to know a little bit more sure of himself, I guess you could
Yeah.
say. He's still the comic relief in the movie, which I liked, but it's just so different. And coming out of that 2017, I remember just being entertained by it, but it wasn't anything amazing.
Yeah.
What about your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I had a big bad taste in my mouth when Batman versus Superman came out.
Mm.
I've told you about this. I've talked about this a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah,
I
yeah.
know the Ultimate Cut I saw, and that was an improvement. Don't get me wrong. I still have
Hmm.
certain issues with it. There are things I really like, but there are also things I really wish they didn't do.
Okay.
Again, it's choices they made, and maybe it's nitpicking a little bit on my part, but
Sure.
I just feel like there are aspects of that movie that were flawed from the start.
Okay.
But I was fine with the Justice League we got in the theaters because I thought I'm like, all right, well at least this is a course correction. Superman's back. we're kind of seeing versions of him and Batman that like I kind of recognize. Plus, they had that scene at the end, even in the original cut, with Lex Luthor and Deathstroke, and like I remember seeing that in the theaters, and like I stood up and cheered. I'm like, yes, they're doing it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because that's one thing that's an advantage they have over Marvel, is that they have all these big rogues gallery. Like
Yep.
they have the Legion of Doom and stuff like that, which Marvel doesn't really have like a team of villains like that.
Yeah.
At least not yet, anyway. Maybe they will, but
Well, they have
I mean,
the
the
Spider-Man
Sinister Six and stuff. But
yeah,
but in the movies, I'm
yeah.
saying they haven't gotten to them yet.
No. Yeah.
So, but yeah, like so, I was kind of aware of what was happening behind the scenes, but I figure I'm like, okay, well, like let me try to stop writing a better movie in my head. Let me just be happy with what we got. I'm like, okay, if this is a good course correction, then I'm fine with it. And I loved Aquaman and Shazam, like those came out afterwards. So it's like, all right, at least we're kind of, getting on board. But like watching this movie, this was on a completely different level.
A very different level.
It was,
yeah.
The tone of it was very different. I mean, obviously it's twice the length of the previous cut, so there's going to be a lot more. I was just amazed at how just huge it was in scope and just how much better it looked, sounded. The performances were great. There were things in the Whedon cut that I kind of wished. There were a couple scenes here and there that I wish they kept in the Snyder cut.
Like, I'm curious.
The biggest scene for me is that there's a scene in which Bruce is talking to Alfred, and they're like going back and forth whether or not they want to bring back Superman. And this is in the theatrical cut, which obviously this part wasn't in the Snyder cut, but there was a scene where Bruce he was talking about Superman, and he said, he's more human than me, Alfred. Like, he went to work, he had a job, he had a girlfriend, like he was a part of this world in a way that I wasn't. Like, he's more human than I am. He can lead this team. He brought out the best in us. He was a beacon of hope. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, man, like that is a beautiful scene. Like that's what Superman's all about. And like hearing like Bruce Wayne talk about him that way, I thought was really cool. But I mean, they kind of communicate. I'm not saying that
gave
was,
that to you in this one.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm just saying that the way they said it in that particular scene, it's like, I kind of wish they kept that. But again, that's like a minor thing. Like I was very happy with what we got.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is this is Zack's cut, so he didn't watch the 2017 movie at all.
Right.
And I at first I didn't believe that. I was like, what do you mean you didn't watch it at all? Like, I just don't believe that. But the more I like listened to him, the more I listened to his wife and those close around him, like, this was his project, and then they had a tragedy, and like this is not something that he could just turn on and be fine with, so I can understand that, like, he didn't watch it. And then
a lot of people like actively kept him from watching it, like Christopher Nolan and some other friends of his were like, do not watch this.
Exactly. So Nolan, Deborah, his wife, watched it, and she said, don't do it. So it makes sense. But so for him to not watch 2017, like, I kind of like I'm okay with, like, I want to see what his version was.
Yeah, I mean,
and
I gotta think one day eventually he's gonna see it if he hasn't already.
He said he will.
I mean, just curiosity. I mean, how could you not? But,
well, he said even right now it's still too soon. Like, I think,
that's fair.
Yeah, he said give it time, he'll watch it.
I still thought that, I'm still of the opinion that I wish that Aquaman and Flash and Cyborg had solo movies before Justice League came out. I still stand by that, even after watching this. I still disagree with a lot of the decisions that were made in Batman versus Superman, but at least they kind of corrected it by the time they got here. So, look, it is what it is. It happened. I definitely accept what happened here. Let's talk about the length and the runtime of this thing for a little bit, because I know a lot of people were thinking, like, and I kind of agree that, like, there were spots where they could have trimmed this down a little bit, and it could have been in the theaters.
I honestly think they say it's a 4-hour movie, but it's like a half an hour of credits. So
Right.
like, so it's really 3 hours and 30. It's like 3.5 hour movie in itself, and you can cut it down to like a 3-hour movie and have it work.
Yeah.
And I say 3 hours because Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War, they were all 3 hours.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And I mean, look,
so
there were a lot of slow-mo scenes that were probably a bit gratuitous, but that's part of what you get when you have a Zack Snyder movie. That's sort of his thing.
Right.
I don't have a
Yeah.
problem with that necessarily.
No, I mean, no, I don't. But there are small things that in here that's like you could cut that little stuff out. So like, like when you have Batman trying to find Aquaman, there were like I felt like it was like 10 minutes of just showing the scenery,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, you could cut out easily 5 minutes of that right
This is
there.
nice. We don't really need to end like, God
Yeah.
bless them. I love, the three Icelandic girls singing. I'm like, okay, that was interesting, but
Exactly.
all right.
You cut that out. Yeah. You can definitely cut out little stuff like that to
Zack
make it
Snyder
a
is one of
3-hour
these
movie.
guys where he seems like, he loves like these big budget, like making these big budget art house films. And it almost comes
I tell you though,
and it
like
almost comes off
nobody.
that
Go
sometimes,
ahead.
which is good and bad. Let me put it to this way, John. I'm a musician. I play,
Okay.
I play in bands. There's like a difference between writing a song that's like a hit song that's like maybe 3 to 4 minutes, and then like
Yeah.
progressive rock, which is like 10, 20 minutes. Maybe technically the musicianship is great,
Yeah.
but that's a lot to ask someone to sit through a lot of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like not everything has to be this big grandiose epic thing. Sometimes brevity is okay too, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Sure. I can understand that.
It's like the difference between like the band Genesis. They had a lot of hits in the 80s, but earlier in their career they had the song called Supper's Ready, which is like almost 30 minutes long. And it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate what this is. I think this is awesome, but like there's a reason
Yeah.
why not everyone is gonna grab onto that. And granted, it's not for everybody, but like you see what I mean. Like at a certain
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
you can have both of those things when it comes to superhero films.
It's kind of interesting because it's like if we didn't have the 2017 movie for how bad how bad they made it, I guess you could say. Because let's just face it, it was a bad movie. You and I are entertained because we're,
Yeah.
we're both comic book fans. We can understand stuff. We
Hmm.
kind of know what's going on. A lot of people, they don't know like what's going on. They don't
Yeah.
know the story of Cyborg, and so when they watch that, they're like, I don't know who this guy is and why
Yeah. Like, well, there's a
this,
guy who talks,
you know,
who swims underwater. What's that about?
exactly. But like it's almost like we had to have that film in order to get this film the way it is right now, like in its
Yeah.
format. But again, I still make the argument that you could have this as technically a 3.5 hour movie with the credits and a 3-hour movie like in itself.
Yeah.
And I think you could get people to go watch it, in my opinion. But anyways, I've just come to accept that like I'm just a big Zack Snyder fan on
Yeah.
these DC movies. I'm huge because like it's not like I set out to be a Zack Snyder fan.
No.
His work it just speaks to me a whole lot more.
Yeah, well, like I remember when I found out that he was going to direct Man of Steel, and I was like, really, the Watchmen guy is directing Superman? Like that was like a pretty dark, violent film. Like I don't know how that's going to work, but I mean, but Man of Steel was great. I loved that movie, and so yeah, and I'm really glad that this got made, and people are out there, and I feel like it's got a lot of support behind it. Maybe it's a little too early to tell what the future is going to be. There's been a lot of talk about what, if Zack Snyder is going to continue, if this is canon, if there's going to be, the whole future slate of DC movies is kind of up in the air. I mean, they've got several projects underway, but like we still don't have a Man of Steel sequel.
I kind of feel this was WB's worst nightmare come true.
This clearly is not a part of their plans. Like one of their vice presidents said that they don't want to move forward with it, but like, when you have all this fan support, like it's kind of hard for them to ignore.
It is. It's
so
very hard for them
they're
to
kind of. I feel like Snyder is kind of forcing their hand a little bit.
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. I mean, like, I think Snyder would. He always envisioned a 5 movie. I
Yeah.
guess he envisioned 5 movies to make in this DCEU world, and I think WB was done with it, and there was such an outpour for his version, and everything was kind of a unique situation. HBO Max comes out, everybody's watching, streaming, and all that, so it seems
Yeah,
like a
no.
perfect storm, and it's like,
It seems like the folks at HBO Max really like it.
well, that's the thing. It was
So
like,
there's
okay,
that.
let's let's
There's
put
this
this
whole new
movie out there.
platform.
So let's put this movie out there. I don't think people are gonna like it because we didn't get as good reviews on the other ones. Blah blah blah. And it's like this was like their worst nightmare because now it's like even better than what people thought it was gonna be.
Yeah, and it's like I said, there's this new platform all of a sudden where it's like
Exactly.
people approach presenting these things differently, and it's still with a big budget, and so
I'm all
yeah.
for it. I really hope they continue with his 2 films.
Yeah, I mean, he's talked about what he wanted to do as far as dive deeper into that nightmare sequence, which he filmed for this cut.
Right. I'm all for it. I've
Yeah,
always been about I've been about the nightmare scenes. I've always been
yeah. I
about it.
mean, I definitely like the scenes. It's not necessarily the story that I was hoping that they would go into, just because like when it comes to time travel, I'm not a fan of it as a general rule.
Hmm.
But it does look interesting.
Yeah.
And like if it ends up adding to the movie, I mean, I know that's what they want to do, where if this is the future, so the Flash has to go back and change it, sort of paying off the BVS, scene with the Batcave, which
Yeah.
I wasn't really, I'm still not
See, I love
too
that
thrilled with it.
scene.
Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me, but I
It
understand
doesn't.
why they put it there.
Oh man, I like ate that up when I saw that. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. This is like, because it lets me know that they're thinking ahead. They're thinking ahead. They're not just like, let's make this what's gonna go on now. Like the 2017 Justice League movie. There's literally no thought process in that movie. There's
Right.
none whatsoever.
It's very much like a movie by committee.
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, here we go. Here's our heroes, and there's a bad guy, a really bad-looking bad guy over there, and
Right.
let's go fight. That's literally what that movie is. There is no thought. There's no thinking in that movie. So like, there's nothing that's like foreshadowing. There's nothing that's maybe connected to the past or anything like that. Like,
No.
so for me, it hit me differently because like when I saw the flat, like I had to go back and rewatch it because I enjoyed it
Hmm.
so much, and now I'm like trying to figure out, okay, how was it real? Was it not? And it's like, oh yeah, it was real. Because at first you have the nightmare scene, and immediately it goes into like with the Flash waking Bruce up. That's immediately. So it's like, well, which one is real? Which one is not? You can tell like,
Yeah.
okay, the nightmare was a vision, and then the Flash was real because even when when the Flash was gone, the papers were still like,
Right. Yeah. I
kind of
mean,
going
Zack
down.
Snyder,
Anyways,
he loves his dream sequences, man. He loves
yeah,
those. Honestly, I could kind of take him or leave him. I mean, I just, I don't know. For whatever reason, it just kind of rubs me the wrong way. It's like this seems distracting. Let's get back to the main story. But that's just
okay,
me.
sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I was glad that they filmed that scene at least, that we had Ben Affleck and Jared Leto on screen together as those characters. I thought that was cool to finally see.
Which, by the way, since you're mentioning the whole nightmare scene and
Yeah,
he's wearing that. Flash is wearing that exact armor
right.
that he was wearing in that
Hmm.
BVS scene. So
Right.
it's like it's all connected. He had a big plan ahead of time here.
Yeah, he had a little bit of
No.
facial hair there. Like he definitely looked
Yep.
more rugged in that scene.
And
And
in that way that mask or whatever, that face mask, that it's an automatic face mask
right.
that
Yeah.
So anyways, I did love the Jared Leto scene. It's a very interesting scene because that one was one of the actual reshoots. He didn't have a whole lot of reshoots in this movie.
No, no. Like a majority of it was already shot, which is like just crazy to
Right.
think about. Like they were sitting on all this
It is.
footage, and
Yep.
like I underestimated how much they really cut out of it. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, how does that even happen? But
it's like you're watching very familiar scenes, but it's a brand new movie.
Oh yeah,
That's the way I felt like. That's the way I felt like watching it.
yeah. I mean, there's not much more to say about it. I did like the scene at the end, which that's a whole thing with Martian Manhunter, especially because they shot that with an actor who was supposed to be Jon Stewart, the Green Lantern.
Right.
But for some reason, the studio said no. Like they really dug in their heels about that. Zack had already kept the footage of Ben, so he just reshot like the footage with Harry Lennox as John Jones,
right?
And then just kept Ben's footage in there. So it's like when Ben was filming that, he was thinking he was talking to Jon Stewart, but it still works in the context of the scene.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean, when you think about it, he doesn't address anyone by name or just like, glad to have the help.
But I thought that was one of the scenes that Ben reshot.
It was.
He's like, oh.
It was, but they had, when they got back together, they shot that. They only had Ben for probably like a day or so. So they shot
the
that
nightmare scene.
They had the nightmare scene, then they had the scene where he meets, this new hero, which originally they shot it as Jon Stewart, but then they later put Martian Manhunter in there instead. So I guess I'm not sure why that decision was made. Maybe the studio has some like big plans for the Green Lanterns, and
that's what I read, was that they have their own thing going on with Green Lantern.
Which is like, well, if they're not planning on continuing this series, then like, what does it matter? But like,
I didn't think of that.
Like it's a weird pull. You know what I mean?
It is. Well, I guess that's just the studio doing their. So apparently Zack almost pulled the movie because of that decision. That he said he decided not to show this movie because they weren't going to give him Green Lantern for that last shot. But he said, you know what? He said that that's such a small scene, and putting in Martian Manhunter instead of Green Lantern, it still worked. So he went ahead and
he probably figured like I'm so close to the finish line, forget it. I'll let them have that.
Yeah. Which I love the Green Lantern in the Age of Heroes scene.
Yeah. The whoever that Green Lantern was, they cleaned up it. And also the nightmare scene where it looked like the Hall of Justice was destroyed. They saw like a dead Green Lantern, like that was Kilowog.
That was definitely Kilowog, without a doubt.
Nice little Easter egg there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of Easter eggs in that one. So in that same exact scene, right after you see Kilowog, you see the Joker's card torn in half.
Okay.
And it's torn, and it kind of floats in between right in the middle of the scene. There's so much going on that the first time you view it, you can't see it, but it does. Much. It purposely goes right in the middle of the screen, and you can see that's a torn in
wind,
half.
Maybe.
Yeah, blowing in the wind, but you can't mistake it. It's a torn in half Joker card. Yeah.
Gotcha. So yeah, man, I'm so glad that this got made, and I'm so glad that we got to see it. It reminds me so much of like the situation that Richard Donner went through with Superman 2 back in the 70s and 80s.
Right.
And how in 2006 he finally got to put out the Richard Donner cut, even though it was decades later. It's like it's interesting to think like what that would have been had he been able to finish it back then. But
Yeah. So I've watched this movie at least twice, but I've actually watched it more than that as far as like pieces here and there.
Yeah, just certain scenes. It's a long sit, man.
It is a long sit, but the more I watch it, the better this movie gets for me.
Yeah.
I think every character is a total upgrade from the 2017 movie.
I agree.
A total upgrade. There's not
I agree.
One
so let's speaking of that, let's expand on that. Let's go through like the cast list and just kind of like talk. I mean, obviously Ben Affleck has top billing as Bruce. Yeah, I mean it's cool to see. I mean, we saw how he was in BVS. He was this like more like manic, like end of his rope. this movie, like, as in the Whedon cut, same thing with this movie, where we see him being Batman, and in this one,
Yeah.
there's like less jokes in this one as well. Like in the Whedon cut, he was almost a little too jokey for my
Oh, he
taste.
was very jokey. He even has like this huge smile on his face at one point.
Yeah, like that. Like that's not Bruce Wayne. But in this one,
Yeah.
like in this one, I thought like
No, as Batman. He had a giant smile on his face as Batman.
yeah,
You remember? You know what I'm talking about?
I think so.
I was
But
like, oh, I remember. I don't like that.
but
Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
but I mean, I feel like this is the best depiction of Ben Affleck's Batman so far. To finally see him do all this stuff, and Affleck was great. And think about how many people were so pissed off when they first heard that he was going to play Batman.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, you and I were not. I
No.
remember you and I were not.
Yeah,
But you're
well,
right.
let's give him a shot, and I think
Yeah.
in that, despite how BVS turned out, I thought he was one of the better parts of that. Like, he definitely looks like Bruce Wayne.
He looks like both. I mean,
Yeah.
like he looks like that's what Batman and Bruce Wayne would be.
Yeah.
Like, and dude, I gotta say, the more I watch Batman v Superman, the Ultimate Cut, the more I like that film. Like,
Yeah.
the more I really like that film. I don't know what it is. I think it's almost like Zack Snyder puts these films out there like whatchamacallit, like they're ahead of their time in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like people are starting to like them the more they view them later in time.
Don't get me wrong, I don't hate that movie. I don't.
Oh, okay.
There were a lot of things about that I wish they did differently, and just
Sure.
I feel like there's a lot of that was fundamentally flawed. A lot of the dialogue in that movie I didn't really care for. There were a lot of these like soliloquies that they wrote. Chris Terrio, like there was a time above, a time before, diamond absolutes. It's like, who talks like that?
Well, I really like the arc of Batman when it comes to the two films, because in Batman v Superman, this is a guy that's obviously like he's been around for quite some time. He's seen the worst.
And I think that's the problem, because they're starting him from that point. Like, we don't get to see what he was like before this point. Like, you know what I mean? Like when they started.
But I guess it's just like, but we've.
I know everyone's seen other versions of Batman, but it's like,
yeah.
You also had two amazing Batman early stories in Batman Begins and The Dark Knight.
That's what I'm saying. We had those movies. Like,
I
don't
agree.
we don't need another movie where he's like young and fresh.
Right. Well, that's why I wish they at least. I mean, I wish they would have started building the DC universe after The Dark Knight instead of what we got with The Dark Knight Rises. But that's a whole different thing. Because it's but you guys were right there. I know Nolan didn't want to do it.
Nolan's stuff does not work.
I know he didn't want to do it, but I'm just saying that's what I would have done if I was in charge of it. I'd be like, okay,
his stuff
this
doesn't
is
have any kind of magic or anything like that. Like, he purposely did that. Anyways, it's kind of nice because it's like, okay, we've seen these other versions. How many like young Batmans do we get? Like, that's all of those Batmans are all the same.
I know, but then it's like you can't assume. I don't know. I don't like it when they assume things like that. It was a weird way to start off at that point, to have him be this like manic, murderous guy.
Anyways, we get this Batman that's been around for quite some time. He's seen the worst of things. He's lost some very close loved ones that he feels very responsible for.
Yeah. Which we don't see that on screen at all, so we just all have to assume that.
That's right. He doesn't hold our hand.
That's the problem with it.
But that's what I like about it.
Sometimes I need my handheld, John.
I don't need my handheld, man. Like, I don't need it. I don't want to be spoon-fed stuff. Like, just gotcha. I can, I can hit the ground running. It's fine. Don't hold my hand. It's all okay. Right. Anyways.
But let's go down. I mean,
what I liked was that the arc of Batman was obviously he was at wit's end here. He's gone through a lot, okay? And in Batman v Superman, you can, he's a broken man,
Mm-hmm.
and he had a lot of time. 2 years passed from the time that Zod came to the time that he battled Superman. So he had a lot of time to prepare, a lot of time to kind of see how he was going to take this guy down, only to find out towards the end that, like, obviously he's gone way too far.
Right.
And he's realized he spent all this time trying to break the good people apart.
Right.
It's like he realized he became the villain.
Yeah.
And then Justice League, it's like now he's trying to, like, make right by it.
Yeah.
And like twice in this movie he mentions about working on faith. He's never had to do that. He's never done that before. Everything was methodical,
Planned
just
out,
just like in Batman v Superman. Everything's planned out exactly the way he thought about it.
Right.
Now this one, it's completely he's had such an arc in just the two films.
Yeah.
And I love that.
I appreciate that. It just I don't know. For me, that's not what I would have done with Batman. But like that's sort of the overarching problem I've had with BVS. It's just that part of his story.
Sure.
It's just like I don't know. It just seemed like a weird beat to start him off at. But like you said, eventually he gets to where the Batman that we all know and loves.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it in that sense. Same can be said for Henry Cavill as Superman. I mean, he seems to lighten up a little bit more, by the time this movie is over, and like we get to see a more confident Superman who seems to be a little more comfortable in what he's doing. He's a little more experienced. He seems to, he doesn't seem to hate being Superman by the time we get to the end of this. Not that I'm saying he hated being Superman throughout all of it, but like, because I mean, I definitely, I didn't have a problem with Henry, coming into this movie, but it was nice to see.
I didn't feel like he hated being Superman in Batman v Superman. At least I didn't feel that way.
Well, I mean, again, I could spend a long time talking about Batman.
I didn't feel that way.
We could do a deep dive on the Ultimate Cut, like scene by scene, and I feel like that.
Yeah, we should.
That might be something. If you guys want to hear us do that in the comments, let us know. I feel like we've talked about that movie a lot,
yeah.
But if there's enough demand for it, we'll do it. But
I've like really come around to that movie. Like the more I watch it, the more I like it. But even with this movie, the more I watch this movie, the more I really love it. Like really love it. So anyways, with Ben Affleck being a Batman, like it's awesome seeing his story arc. Like like he's come around to like being the Batman that we've kind of wanted to see.
Right.
And he fits the bill so well. Like
he really does.
Well.
He really does. I really hope that he gets to do a little bit more of this. And it's like, look, they better hurry up. Ben's not getting any younger.
And I loved the whole ending scene was a setup for his Batman, for Ben Affleck's Batman. It wasn't a setup for, the bad team. I forgot what they're called.
The Legion of Doom, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't a setup for the Legion
of
Doom.
I don't know if that's what they'll call them in the movie, but you know.
Yeah. It wasn't, you know what I'm saying though. It was set up for Ben Affleck's movie instead. And that was a nice twist because I thought it was going to be the same exact scene as the 2017 one, but it wasn't.
Also, where Lex tells Slade Wilson that Batman's Bruce Wayne, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
oh, does he say that in the? He doesn't say that in the 2017 movie, does he?
No, in the Snyder cut, they says.
In the Snyder cut, yeah.
By the way.
Yeah. I thought that was cool.
But yeah, I mean, we had sort of a different arc with Amy Adams as Lois Lane as well.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. Like way better with Amy Adams in this movie than the 2017 movie. Like
there was also like this whole rumor that they were going to have like a romance between Lois and Bruce in this movie, which I'm really glad they didn't go with that because it's like there's enough going on here already.
So I think that's for a different thing. There were rumors of Justice League 2. There was like it was going to be like a romance between Bruce and Lois, and Bruce has to let Lois die or something like that. I don't know, which causes Superman to go crazy. But anyways, I am glad they did not go that route. Yeah, I am glad they didn't go with that. And
now they've been teasing like the whole pregnancy test thing for a little bit with that.
Yeah,
that
of course.
I guess heavily implying that she's pregnant with Clark's kid.
Yeah, and I think even Snyder said she is because so you have that obviously the shot of the pregnancy test, an obvious shot, but then towards the end,
Bruce says congratulations.
So Bruce says congratulations, but the shot where Amy and Martha turn around, like they go up to the
Yeah,
house and then they
they're
turn
holding
around.
a bassinet.
They're holding a bassinet, which in the 2017 movie they were holding a box, like an actual,
Yeah.
just like cardboard box. So
Yeah, I
it's
mean, I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like that's a little early to have them have a kid.
Mm.
I don't know. That's just me, but
Well, I think probably because I don't know. It's been quite a few amount of years, at least 2 years between
yeah, I mean, I
in
guess
their relationship.
well, yeah, but it's just like we've only had one solo Superman movie, so it's just I don't know that it just seems a little early to me. But I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
don't hate it, but it's just
Hmm.
like I don't know how I feel about this. I feel like there's enough going on here without having to throw that into it.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, who knows if that will be expanded upon?
So with
We don't know yet.
Amy, in this one, everything makes sense. She's trying to get over Clark, and she's completely devastated.
Yeah,
It
she's grieving.
shows she's grieving. She's constantly going back to that memorial area.
Hmm.
She's not working,
Which,
and everything.
by the way, I didn't realize at first, but the guy who played that cop that she talked to
Yes.
Is Mark McClure, who played Jimmy
Yeah.
Olsen in the old Christopher
Yeah.
Reeve movies.
That's so cool.
Like that's rad that they brought him back for that. Like
I
that's
know.
super cool.
I know. Apparently, he was in the 2017 version. He was like one of the cops in the
He was
in
just
the
like in the
fight scene.
background. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways, but yeah, I love that she like brings him coffee, Jimmy coffee,
Right.
and like, anyways, so it makes more sense that she's grieving, and that it makes more sense when, she shows up basically to save Batman's life from Superman. That
Yeah.
scene makes so much more sense rather than like Batman going, Alfred, we need the big gun. We need the
Yeah.
big gun.
That
Like,
was wild, man. Like Clark was about to
yeah.
laser Bruce right in the face. Like that was
Yeah, dude.
insane.
Yeah, dude.
That was wild.
Yeah. See, and see, again, in this one, they explained his gauntlet. Like,
Yeah.
it made a whole lot more sense. They didn't even go over that in the 2017 movie.
Yeah.
They
Um,
didn't. So
yeah, I liked, and obviously, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. It's just about the same. Like she's great. What more can you
so
say about her?
I gotta say, I was not a fan of 1984, right? The
Me
movie.
neither. Yeah.
Not a fan of that. I did like the first Woman movie.
Yeah.
I have my issues with it
Yeah.
because I do feel like in all the action scenes it's all slow mo rather than like I like seeing it from a person's like our time. Like how do these
Right.
heroes move from our point of view? And
Yeah.
and Zack Snyder does that. He does both slow mo and he does it where you can see like how fast these guys are moving. So
Yes.
with Wonder Woman, I gotta say, was the most like the best version of
Oh,
Wonder
that's
Woman I've
that scene of
seen.
her in London stopping the terrorists. Amazing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Everything, like all her scenes are that much better. Like there's a few scenes where I constantly rewind because she's doing these athletic moves and it just completely makes her look badass. Like the way she moves, so
Oh
confident.
yeah.
The way that she rolls and the way she stands up is very like an
Yeah.
athletic
To
move.
see her move at super speed was really cool.
Yeah. And like, so there's like a scene that I absolutely love. So she is fighting Steppenwolf the first time around,
Hmm.
and she dares him to pick up his axe. I like that little stare off. She goes
Yeah.
right through him, pushes him through the wall, and she kind of ropes up to this platform. And this is the scene where she lands, and then it's a scene of her like putting away her lasso and then grabbing her shield and and then putting it right in front of her. That scene right there,
Yeah.
it just gets me every time. I'm like, oh my god, it looks like 300, the movie 300,
Dude, at
and
the
like,
end when she just cut his head off.
oh, I loved it.
OFF off.
Yes, I love
Like
that
she's
they
not
gave
playing
her
around.
the final, like the final blow. I
Yeah.
love that. Anyways, there's so much in this movie that I'm like, yes, everything's better, like that much better. Everything that's that much better. And Gal is amazing in this movie. I'm so glad she got to shine like really well in this. I feel like these characters, they all shine because they were all casted by Zack Snyder. Like Zack is the one that had the vision for all of them.
He really did.
So
let's
yeah.
talk about Ray Fisher for a second.
Oh boy. Yeah.
This, I mean, because this was a big thing. Obviously, everyone's been talking about how, I mean, a lot of Cyborg's story was cut from the theatrical cut.
A lot.
And when I first heard that Cyborg was going to be in the movie, I wasn't all that happy about it because it's like I know in Jeff Johns' New 52, Jeff Johns, weirdly enough, even though Ray Fisher complains about it, Jeff Johns, like originally in the comics, wrote Cyborg to be part of the Justice League. So, but I mean, I was always okay, well, like, why not? Why do they have him here and not Green Lantern? Like,
right.
And then it's like, you get that whole thing. It's like, okay, well, are they just putting him in there because he's a black character and all this other stuff?
Right.
But
yeah.
Even when I saw the theatrical cut, I thought, like, man, this guy's actually pretty cool. Like, I want to see more of him. And we got to see more of him in the Snyder cut, and it was great. Like,
it was awesome.
Seeing him and his mom and dad and just getting his backstory, it's like, man, even though we didn't get like a Cyborg origin movie, we kind of got a lot of his origin story in this one, and it was
practically
wonderful.
An origin movie for him. Practically.
He was really the heart of the movie. In a lot of ways.
He was the heart of the movie.
Yeah,
this
100%.
This movie kind of centers around him pretty much.
It really does. Like, yeah, he plays just a huge role in this version of the movie. And look, we can only speculate what's going on, what really happened. I mean, there seems to be a lot that has been said, about how he was treated, and I'm certainly not invalidating the guy's feelings. I'm sure he was right to feel, a lot of the ways that he felt. And this feels weird to have to go into this because, like, I try to avoid this stuff when it comes to talking about movies. I don't want to get into politics and whatnot.
Sure.
But
yeah.
A lot of his accusations seem to be that there was some racial discrimination in there, which I don't know if there was or if there wasn't. But it sounds like there's a possibility that maybe they were just crappy to everybody. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know if it was like specifically a racial thing. I know like his character got cut, and maybe like I don't know. Judging by some of the comments like Ray has made about it, it seems like something that he's very sensitive about. And I'm not saying right or wrong for him, but he seems to be very sensitive about that sort of thing. And I'm sure a lot of black actors are. And
well, I don't know if he's sensitive. I mean, like, just to think he is just now coming out with it, right?
Well, I mean, I'm sure because again, that's a hell of an accusation to make. So I'm sure he's trying to like be very careful in his words because he probably doesn't want to get sued for like slander or whatever. But
well, he's also trying to be respectful because like I feel like, why don't you give specific names and situations? And he's not, because he mentioned that he's trying, there's people that are jobs at stake here. So that like if he mentions situation, leadership can be like, oh, I know which people he's talking about that are, talking about this situation. So I'm going to let them go. So I think he's also trying to protect those people who are innocent from losing their job.
That's the thing. It's like, okay, who's he accusing versus who's he protecting? We don't know.
Right.
And that, I'm not saying whether that adds or takes away from his credibility, but that's just, as a fan, like, you hear all these different stories and you're not really sure what's true and what isn't. That's all I'm saying.
No, so, I totally agree. It's hard to make like a real judgment call on this because you don't want to. You're trying to like give the benefit of the doubt to everybody, right?
Yeah.
You're not trying to.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's very possible that some things were said or done, and maybe some things were taken differently by others. Yeah. Like, that happens all the time. There are communication issues. Whether or not there's truth to it, I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
Again, none of us are there who are listening to this. I'm willing to bet no one who is actually making the movie is probably listening to my little podcast. But
Well, here's the thing: is like we can't make a definitive judgment call on whether it was racial, it wasn't. But what we can do is like just look at the facts of like what we got between the previous one and this one. It's like you got so much of Cyborg cut out, right? You got
Right.
a lot of his dad cut out. You got
Right.
his mom wasn't even there.
Yeah, we didn't even see his mom in the original one.
We didn't see his mom, and then you don't have anything of Ryan Choi in this movie.
That's right. Yeah, Ryan Choi, who in the comics is the Atom, or at least one of the Atoms.
Yeah, and you don't have that lady that Cyborg helped out.
Right.
So a lot of people, I guess you could say, people of color, there a lot of them have been totally cut out from this movie. Now, again, I'm not definitively saying one thing or the other, but what I can say is, these other people are totally cut out of the movie, and that's all I can say about that. Is it's like that's kind of like, well, that's kind of interesting, and when you take a dive into like the two movies.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could look at it either way for sure. I mean, it's an interesting thing. That's like, and I certainly didn't even think about that until you brought it up, and I'm like, yeah, I guess that is one way of or of how that could come off.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean, it certainly would be a shame to not have him play the role anymore. And I know he was planned to be in the Flash movie, but they're not recasting him as far as I know. They just Cyborg is not involved in that particular story.
And I gotta say, I love Cyborg and Flash in this movie.
Yeah, like they have good chemistry.
They have great chemistry. They have like really good chemistry in this movie. So
it would really be a shame not to see any more Cyborg stuff, and
right.
Whether or not Ray Fisher ends up being Cyborg in the future, I don't know.
I feel like right now the relationship seems irreparable, but I mean, let's face it, we didn't think Zack Snyder cut was ever going to come out, right? Like some weird stuff has happened before, so maybe we will get something. I don't know.
You never know.
You never know.
I mean, another Zack Snyder casting, obviously Jason Momoa as Aquaman. That was like sort of an unusual choice, but like he's like defined by Aquaman now.
Yeah.
And I mean, look, we've already had like $1 billion solo movie of his that came out after this. It was good to see his story a little bit more fleshed out in this one as well, because we had Willem Dafoe show up as Vulko.
Right.
And we had some more scenes with him and with Mira. And yeah, I mean, Amber Heard as Mira, she was there. And for some reason, she had an English accent in this one, but not in the theatrical cut or the Aquaman solo movie. So I don't know why. Weird. I don't know why that decision was made. It's just an odd choice.
Yeah, it was an odd choice, but I have to look at it like this movie was made before Aquaman movie.
It was.
So it's not like he's going back and being like, oh no, I'm purposely gonna do this, and even though it's been done this way already, like. So, but it just kind of makes me think, like, did he not collaborate at all with James Wan and be like, hey, can we decide on an accent or something like that? Like,
I don't know. I mean, because I know he was an executive producer. He got an executive producer credit on Aquaman, and there's nothing in Aquaman that really contradicts anything that's going on in this, other than the accent change, really.
Yeah, and that's not a big deal. That's really not a big deal.
In the grand scheme of things, I mean, it's.
I do remember your Like, I remember you caught on to it earlier than I did, and you were like,
why is she British
in
this?
Yeah, you were like, what the heck? And then that turned me onto it. I'm like, oh yeah, what in the world?
It's like, did they replace Amber Heard on us and not know it? But no, that's Amber. She just So
it kind of lets me know that, like, because in the Whedon cut, she had a regular accent, so they reshot that scene.
Yeah, I mean, because she is American. That's how she usually speaks. So
yeah,
and it's one of those things. I don't know why.
Yeah, but anyways, with the Aquaman stuff I loved all of it.
Great. That part where he's walking into the water, I do kind of wish they kept the White Stripes song there instead of the Leonard Cohen song that Zack Snyder picked. That's just me.
Okay.
That song, Icky Thump by the White Stripes, kind of a rocking tune. I was like, man, I kind of wish they kept that.
I do
but
like
that's
that.
just me.
I understand this. This movie was made well before the Aquaman movie, right? Like well
Yeah.
before. So I am glad they did away with a few things. So like the whole air bubble to be able to talk to each other thing, like that Mira makes. Every time they want to talk to each other, Mira does like the whole air bubble
Yeah.
under. I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad like James Wan kind of did away with that and was like, no,
No.
they can just talk to each other like normal underwater,
Yeah.
So
I think
but
they tried to explain that. Oh well, they just did that so no one else around them would hear them. So sort of like kind of like in that old show Get Smart, the Cone of Silence.
the cone of silence. Yes,
That's what that reminded me of.
That's awesome. I will say I did like Mira using that to fight against Steppenwolf. Like
Yeah, because she has magic powers. That's
yes,
like part of her deal. She's a sorceress.
yeah.
So that's
And
like kind of her
I didn't
thing.
even realize. I mean, like it's so cool. Like her fighting Steppenwolf. She was taking the water out of him.
Yes,
And then
like
the blood
even
out
like
of
blood, like that was wild.
that was
They really
wild.
went for it when it came to the violence in this one.
That was wild. You know what? That would have spoiled the whole scene in the Aquaman movie where she's like, it's kind of like their Tomb Raider thing where they're trying to figure out like what this artifact does, and she needs water.
Yeah,
So she takes
yeah.
the sweat from Aquaman. Like that
Yeah.
kind of would have spoiled that scene because it would have been like, dude, she fought Steppenwolf and like took all of his water and his blood out. So
that was wild.
that was wild. That was crazy.
I mean that's another actor who like we're not sure what because of her sort of legal situation, I guess with Johnny Depp and some of the stuff extracurricular. We don't know if she's going to come back as Mira, but
yeah.
I mean that one. I mean, I thought she's fine as Mira, but like she's not irreplaceable. You know what I mean?
It's exactly my thought. Like as much as I loved her as Mira, I'm not exactly
like she was serviceable as Mira. Like she was fine. But like you could have almost any actress play that role.
You just have a good actress and she'll be fine.
As long as they have decent chemistry with Momoa, then that's fine. And how could you not have chemistry with Momoa? The guy's super charming.
Yeah, no doubt.
There was a rumor that they might put Emilia Clarke in there.
That would be wild.
That'd be funny.
That'd be so wild.
Especially like, hey, does Mira look shorter to you?
Yeah.
She's tiny. She's a tiny little thing.
She is really tiny. She's definitely tiny. Yeah.
So, who else? Obviously, Ezra Miller. I feel like he was a little bit less goofy in this one. Less annoying. Not that he was annoying in the theatrical cut, but there were some parts where it's like, okay, does he really need to be? I feel like they turned it up a little bit in the theatrical.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
This one he was a little bit more reined in.
Yes, he was reined in. The jokes that he did make, I laughed at. Like they seemed to fit in the movie.
Yeah, it felt like natural.
Yeah, organic.
Dialogue.
Yeah. And like I just love them so much in this movie. I can't believe Whedon totally cut out his introduction in the movie. Where he's at the pet store and he's saving Iris West. Like that wasn't even in the Whedon cut. And I remember seeing that in the trailer where he's breaking the glass with his finger as he runs through it. Cool. I remember seeing that in the trailer and like we never got it. We never got it in the Whedon cut.
Yeah, they had Kiersey Clemons play Iris West.
Right.
In that. So, I mean, they're kind of laying the groundwork for that. There's still a lot about this version of The Flash that we don't know.
No.
So, I mean, I know they're still planning on making a movie for him.
And, dude, so The Flash in the Whedon cut, he's like the butt of the jokes. He's scared. Right. It's almost like he doesn't know how to be a hero. And then,
where like Barry Allen in the comics, he's not like a geeky guy. He's just more of like the average, like everyman. He's supposed to be like the most relatable of like, and I mean, I think Grant Gustin in the TV show on the CW does a great job of that as far as like being a down to earth guy.
Yeah. And in the Whedon cut, they made Barry like go save a random Russian family.
Right.
And that was his big thing in the
He's also much younger in this version of the story. Like I feel like I feel like typically Barry has always in the comics been like around Bruce and Clark's age,
Right, yeah. No, he is definitely younger. He's definitely on the younger side in this movie.
Yeah, it feels
But
like
like,
he'd probably be in the same age as like maybe Dick Grayson might be.
right, right. But like, what I was gonna say, in the difference between these two, a giant difference is that in the Whedon cut, his big thing was go save this random Russian family that's
Yeah, that
I don't even know
that
why
whole
they're
side
there.
thing with the Russian
Yeah.
family, I didn't miss that.
So no, not at all. So that was like his big thing in the movie. As opposed to this one, he's literally the hero in this movie.
Yeah,
Like,
he has a huge role. I mean, look, the time travel thing, I feel like Flash is a little bit overpowered, but the way they used it in this one, I was fine with it.
yeah, I mean, like, if you don't have Flash in this movie, like the whole world would be done. Like
Yeah.
Superman was eviscerated,
Hmm.
Cyborg was done. Like if you don't have Flash in this movie, like he literally saves the world. And the thing is, they don't even know it. They don't even know that he
That's
saved the
right.
world.
Yeah.
And but I love that they all, this the end fight scene. They, not to be no pun intended, but they really did it justice. Like
Hmm.
everybody was so important. Like Superman saves the day, Barry saves the day, you Wonder Woman saves the day, and then Cyborg has his own thing where he saves the day.
Yeah.
He's the one that has to go streamline into the mother box, face his own little temptation there, and
Yeah, that was wild.
actually separate. Like everybody has a real hero moment
Yeah,
in the
even
end
the way
scene.
they explained how the mother box works in this movie made a lot more sense.
Oh, a lot more sense.
Yeah.
A lot. I'm telling you, the more I watch this film, the more I'm like, wow, like I really like this. I really love this film. There's so
Yeah.
much to it.
Yeah, like I said, the other supporting cast, Jeremy Irons as Alfred, Diane Lane as Martha, although like the Martha we saw in there turned out to be John Jones, which is kind of
Only
weird.
for that scene, though.
Yeah.
It was only for that scene. It was
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
it was Martha in the other scenes, but
Hmm.
John Jones was the one that was like, okay, I
Yeah.
need to get Amy, not Amy, I was Lois back,
Yeah.
so she, he turned into, which is so wild to think of, like,
Yeah,
forgot
that
that
whole scene
general's
was a
name.
weird choice. Like, so Jean disguised himself as Martha Kent to
Yeah,
go visit Lois Lane. So, I mean, clearly he knows the secret, which, I mean, fine, he reads minds and he's a general, so I mean, that makes sense
yeah.
that he would figure that out, but it just
Well,
kind of
he's
came out of
kind of like,
nowhere.
well, he's kind
But
of
still, a great reveal.
it is a great reveal. He's kind of he's putting like the little chess pieces in place. He's like,
Yeah.
he realizes what's going on. He's like, it might be a good idea to try and get Lois back into the
Yeah.
game here.
Which I
You
mean,
know?
I always laugh and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. So he's been John Jones the entire time? Where were you during the Krypton attack, buddy?
I agree, dude. I agree.
You could
I
have helped
agree.
during Doomsday. You could have helped fight Steppenwolf. Like,
Yep.
what have you been waiting
Yep.
for, dude? Come
I
on,
I
John.
totally agree. I totally agree. But the way I look at it too was like he's kind of the last of his race type of deal, and he's kind of like, oh, I
He's
got these
very
new.
cautious.
Yeah, he's very
Maybe he
cautious.
didn't want to blow his cover.
Doesn't want to blow it. Now he's a general,
Or
and
and then later the Secretary of Defense.
that is exactly. And so like he's probably like, oh, let this new guy take over. Let's see what he does with this new guy and all this stuff. So, but I totally agree. I can write it off as that. Like, okay, he's
Yeah.
being cautious, letting the other
And
people
who
do their
knows
thing.
if they do more of these movies, they could always explain that.
But
Whether they do or not, who knows?
I always go back to, where were you, John? Where were you, man?
It's like, where were you on that one, buddy? Come on.
I know.
But I
The
mean,
whole
yeah, like,
world was at stake here.
yeah, but it was cool that we finally saw Willem Dafoe's scenes as Volko.
Yeah.
We finally, we saw a different take of Jesse Eisenberg as Lex. Which, look, I mean, I love the fact that, I mean, I had issues with Jesse Eisenberg's choices in Batman versus Superman, but here,
Yeah.
he's the Lex that like we all know. Like he's cocky, he's like the smartest guy in the room, and like
Yeah.
he's not like weird and frantic.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I felt the same way in the theatrical cut. That scene at the end where he met Deathstroke. I'm like, yeah, like that's the Lex I've been waiting for.
I know that is the Lex that you've been waiting for. Like,
Yeah.
I remember having this long talk with you, and like,
Oh
you
yeah.
want like the traditional Lex. You really like the traditional Lex for sure.
Yeah,
And like,
or at
I can
least like
totally
within the
understand.
ballpark, you know. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
look, fact is he got there. Let's move on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the other. I mean, you had the other sort of side characters like Connie Nielsen as Hippolyta. I feel like if they do a third Wonder Woman movie, it has to be her coming back to Themyscira. That's how that needs to end.
I would imagine. I mean, this movie kind of set it up for that way.
Yeah, like that's
You know,
that's how her arc needs to. They need to resolve that at some point.
because she's and they ended this movie with her holding Artemis's arrow, looking out
Yes.
into the ocean.
Yeah.
Kind of like longing, for something.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's longing for her friends and her mom and all that.
Yeah. So it's like, look, Mom, it's been 100 years. You've kicked me out. I think it's
I
time
know.
that I come back home.
I know you
made your
sent me
point.
this arrow. I mean, I got your text.
Does this mean I'm not grounded anymore?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that scene where she gets the arrow and she does her little Tomb Raider thing,
Yes. Yeah, we saw
there's
the
so many-
hieroglyphics. It was cool.
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons, we saw more of him as Commissioner Gordon, which is cool.
Which is really cool. Cool.
Great casting.
I know that joke doesn't land with you about, the fastest man alive. It doesn't get the memo of leaving.
That whole scene where it's like Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Batman snuck away, but somehow Flash doesn't. Like,
that
was weird.
That's what makes it funny to me.
I guess
because
it was funny, but I'm like, that's goofy.
He doesn't see everything in slow-mo 24/7.
Right.
He can choose to make it slow when he goes.
Like, how did Cyborg sneak away? Like,
I know.
Like, how did he learn how to do that? Like, Wonder Woman, I could see.
Yeah. But, well, he is a computer. He probably learns how to silence his.
He's got like silencers. He's just a big.
Yeah. I agree. Anyways,
funny.
To me, it lands. It lands for me because I understand he's not seeing everything in slow-mo all the time. So you got the fastest man in the entire world, being left behind here.
Hey, I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a better performance for Steppenwolf by Kieran Hines.
Oh my gosh!
Like his character was so much more fleshed out.
So much more.
And understood why he was doing what he was doing.
That was the most important part. I mean, like he looked completely different. Yeah. The look of him, he looked menacing, and at the same time, you could see the pain in his face and his eyes and his facial expression. Like you can understand where he's coming from. So he looked very different, but most important is what you're saying, that like you can understand where this guy is coming from. Like, what's going on here. It's funny. I've been watching some YouTubers watch. I'm watching them watch the movie. And like some of them that have girls, some of the girls are like, they out loud say like, "Oh, I feel bad for Steppenwolf,"
Right.
And it's like somebody pointed out, well, that's called writing. That's good writing. That you can feel a little bit empathetic towards.
That's what makes a good villain.
Yes, exactly. Well, exactly, no doubt. So much better.
And like you said earlier, we got introduced to Ryan Choi, played by an actor named Ryan Zhang, who I think is he's already had he's from China. Like, he's done a lot of movies and TVs over there. So I don't know how many like Western projects he's done, but yeah, he did a good job. Now Ryan Choi in the comics becomes the Atom. I think he's like a student of Ray Palmer, the original Atom, or at least the Silver Age Atom. So if they do a movie of him, I would hope that they put Ray Palmer in there, similar to kind of like Hank Pym and Scott Lang.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I didn't know that much about the Atom. I mean, like, I knew a little bit, but not necessarily. Like, when you told me about it, I was like, I don't know who Ryan Choi was. I knew of the Atom, but I didn't know all the names. So
yeah, he's not like
cool.
He's not like A-list,
No, Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
I wouldn't put him in that category, but like, I mean, look, he could do some cool stuff in future movies if they want to go that
yeah,
route.
yeah.
Um,
What did they say? It was like, this is nanotech, that's your thing, and he's like, that's my thing, or
yeah,
something. That's
lot
pretty
lot
cool.
of lot of different stuff they could do with that. Yeah, so I mean, we talked about Amber Heard as Mira, Joe Morton as Dr. Stone, Silas Stone. You know,
Awesome,
the big difference
awesome.
in that is that in the theatrical cut he lives at the end,
He
and this one he
lives
doesn't.
at the end.
That's
Yeah,
like the
yeah. This
biggest like
one was,
continuity change.
yeah, it is, and man, what a sacrifice he did in this one.
Yeah, like
Like,
they such a great story that they told about how this father and son they didn't they butted heads, but eventually like he really loved his son, and it was such a great story that they told.
yeah,
And I've been a
yeah,
fan of his ever since like Terminator 2. He played Miles Dyson.
yep,
He's just been this
yep.
great character actor. Like he was on a few episodes of Smallville back in the first season as
Oh, was
Professor
he?
Hamilton.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And
Oh,
well no, it wasn't Emil Hamilton. It was Dr. Stephen Hamilton. It was like a different character,
okay,
but like
okay.
but he was on that. I loved him in Blues Brothers 2000.
I haven't seen
Yeah.
that one. I
But
haven't
yeah, I
seen
mean
that.
he can sing and dance and do all that stuff in there. So it's a completely different kind of role, but like he's a talented actor.
That's pretty cool. I gotta say,
Um,
like, I think it fooled everybody on his sacrifice. Like, it fooled me. I think, we were both talking about it, and I said, like, man, he made that sacrifice for nothing. It was in vain. He was trying to do what, you know, the last thing he could do was trying to destroy it, and it's like such a cool reveal that, like, they were talking about earlier about superheating a metal object, and like
yeah.
they mentioned, like, no, this he marked the box, and like I thought that's like a good little twist, and like
Yeah.
it fooled everybody. Like every YouTuber that I watch, their reaction is just like ours, like, oh, he tried to destroy the box, his sacrifice is in vain, and it's like,
Yeah. At
oh,
first it was like, why did he do that? Like, oh, that's why. Okay.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, no, it was really well done in that, and they didn't, they really made his character not just like one dimensional. Like,
yeah,
you know, I think in like the comics he was always like, he didn't like anything that Victor had to do with sports. He's just like, you need to focus on science only. So
yeah,
they kind
yeah,
of fleshed him out a little bit more
yeah,
in this
yeah.
one. Let's see, they said Lisa Lovin Kongsley as Menelope, which she was one of the Amazons. I yeah,
Okay.
she must have been the one that was like killed on the horse,
Right.
maybe.
Gotta say, all the Amazon scenes a
Fantastic.
lot better. Fantastic. They look
Yeah.
so in this one, they were absolute warriors in this one.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like, yeah, Steppenwolf, won the battle, but like they didn't go down without a fight.
Yeah,
They
they held
didn't.
their own.
They
They hung
held
in
their
there.
own. Yeah, and then the Whedon cut, they did not seem like warriors. Like they
No,
went
like
down
like, yeah, in that version, like I feel like he took them out like pretty easily.
real easily.
Yeah,
Real easily. This
that wasn't the
one
case.
was way better. Way better.
Yeah. Jared Leto, obviously. I mean, I'm so happy for him that he got to do this because I know a lot of people hated his version of the Joker. I thought he was good. I thought he was really great.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't like his version of the Joker in Suicide Squad.
Right.
I'm
And
not
obviously,
a real
like,
big fan of it. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, like, those are crazy shoes that he had to fill.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I like this version. I want
Hmm.
more of this version. Like what he's
Yeah.
doing here. I want more of it. He did enough to sell to, I'm sold on it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
give me more of that.
But, like, it was like another thing, like, kind of like a lot of people felt about his Joker the way I felt about Jesse's Lex. So, but, like,
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, yeah.
in the end, like, they got to where they need to be. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah. That,
Let's see. Karen Bryson played
it's
Mrs.
interesting.
Stone.
Yeah.
And oh no, sorry. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was trying to dissect what he was talking about towards the end there, and basically, like, there's a trade-off between the Mother Box and Lois and Batman and Harley Quinn or something like that. I can't. That's the way I kind of took it as. That's like he kind of has a a card up his sleeve type of deal with as far as like Lois Lane in the mother box or something like that. I don't know.
It's just such a wacky scenario that, like, in what universe could you imagine Batman and the Joker working together? But like, it's an interesting idea,
Well, when it's Darkseid, you kind of have no choice.
I guess, yeah. So that, I mean, but that whole notion is pretty mind blowing. So, but yeah, that was a great scene.
Yeah. So you were talking about Mrs. Stone, or Dr. Stone.
Yeah,
I guess you could say.
Yeah, Victor's mom, Karen Bryson.
Yep.
I don't know anything she's been in. Kiersey Clemens as Iris West, another person who was left out in the theatrical cut. I'm trying to think what else she's been in. She's been in a couple of movies, like
I don't know her.
Oh, Hearts Beat Loud. I've seen that. I've seen that movie. That's like it's sort of an independent movie. I've seen her in with Nick Offerman. I've seen her in that. She's been in a couple of. So she's been in a couple of other things as well, like The Neighbors with Seth Rogen. Like some comedy stuff, some drama. So she's done a lot of things. She's done some like TV stuff, like Austin and Ally. I guess that's like a kid show. Is that Disney Channel or Nickelodeon? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know. I'm not the best source for TV stuff.
Yeah, I mean our kids are too young for those, so that's kind of before we started having kids. But so she's been in a lot of things. Kiersey Clemens has. Ray Porter did the voice of Darkseid. It was cool to see Darkseid, man.
He sounded awesome.
Yeah.
He sounded menacing. I love that. This Darkseid, like, I've heard some people comment like, "Oh, I wish we got to see him put his arms behind his back, like he does in the cartoons." And I was like, really? But if you go back,
we've got plenty of time for that,
If you go back, he does it. There's a shot of him.
Oh yeah.
Doing it. So, like, do you know when the boom tube opens and at the final battle, like when they're about to kill Steppenwolf, that boom tube opens or whatever. Like that as soon as that boom tube opens and it shows Darkseid, it actually shows him from behind with his arms behind his back. Yeah, nice. and he takes his arms off while he turns around. So it's like,
well, yeah. Apparently he did both the voice and the motion capture, which is pretty cool.
That is cool.
So, yeah. Like, I'm thinking, like, if I were in charge of the DC movies in the universe, I would save the Darkseid story and, like, the Nightmare stuff. Yeah. I would let a couple other movies happen in between that. Like,
yeah, you kind of want it a little bit more like the Marvel, where it's like you got a lot of things going on before you get to this giant, the baddies of the baddies,
That's what I would do. I'm like, okay, let's put a hold on Darkseid for a bit.
Yeah,
let's build up the universe a little bit more, then we'll go there.
Yeah, I agree. I agree on that.
Peter Guinness as Desaad. I almost thought it was like Alec Guinness.
I have to say, I've been saying this whole time, I love this movie, right? I like it's so much better, this and that. Don't get me wrong, it does have its, I'm not gonna say flaws, but it has some flaws where it's like there's definitely plot holes in this movie where it's hard to get over. Like the whole, it seems like they didn't know where Earth was or where the mother boxes were.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that doesn't make any sense to me, like how can you not know where Earth is? That's literally where you almost lost your life. And
right, like, well, I mean, I guess it's been a long time. They like, did they forget?
Yeah, it's kind of
funny.
It is kind of funny, like, and then the whole anti-life equation thing.
Yeah.
Like it seemed Steppenwolf did the same exact action that Darkseid did, where he put his axe down into the ground and then it showed the equation in the ground. Same exact symbol. But yet Steppenwolf realized this is the answer.
Write it down. Take a picture. Get your iPhone.
Yeah, but like Darkseid didn't like this, so that didn't make any sense to me. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Gotta say, it's funny that like when you see the tribe of men, the tribe of the Atlantis and the Amazon, when they're trying to encase the mother boxes. I thought that was cool, seeing the different ways they encase it. But then,
Yeah.
like, when they're all, like, hiding it or putting it in special places, leave it up to man to be like, put some dirt on it, you know?
Right.
Like,
Yeah, but just dig a hole. It'll be fine.
just dig a hole. It's fine. Nobody will know it's here.
Yeah. What could go wrong? I love that there's like a possible connection between like, all the magic parts of the DCEU, like the Amazons have the new gods.
Yeah.
They have the Olympian gods, and that's connected to
Yeah, old
Atlantis.
gods. Yeah.
And that's connected to Shazam and all his stuff. And like maybe the Enchantress is connected to that somehow. So
yeah,
it would be it would be cool to, expand upon that, and before we get into like Black Adam and Doctor Fate and like maybe John Constantine or Justice League Dark,
I was gonna
if they
say,
ever go there.
I really hope they have John Constantine. Like, give me John Constantine. Give me Keanu Reeves, John Constantine.
Let's see. Yeah, and of course Joe Manganiello as Deathstroke. That's perfect. He's awesome.
He looked real cool. It looked cool, but I gotta say that outfit doesn't look like it's very mobile. A very mobile outfit. It looks a little. I don't know. Doesn't look very mobile.
He's that's like Slade Wilson is such a cool character. He's kind of like the anti-Captain America, where he was a soldier. He got basically enhanced, but he just became an assassin.
I didn't know he was enhanced. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like in the old comics, like from the 80s, like the New Teen Titans run by Marv Wolfman. It's called the Judas Contract, which they made an animated movie of that. But like the original comics,
did.
Like he was, it was kind of cool, like where he was like this special forces soldier who ended up volunteering for like a super soldier like injection type of thing, and he had his buddy Wintergreen, who was kind of like his Alfred. He was this older like British soldier who was like his best friend.
Yeah.
So, and his wife was an army instructor as well. Like she was she was badass as well.
Yeah.
His wife was named Adeline, which happens to be my daughter's name.
Yeah, right.
Total coincidence, by the way.
Yeah.
But like that would be cool to have his story be told.
Yeah, I've always been. What I know about what's his name? Slade Wilson, right?
Yeah.
Like what I've always heard about him is that like he's like one of the only characters that can go toe to toe with Batman.
Oh my God! Like he would destroy Batman.
Okay, so I didn't know he was a super soldier. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I mean, look, Batman's pretty awesome. He would probably find a way to beat him, but like all things being equal, like in terms of like pure strength and speed, like Bruce couldn't compete with that. He's still a normal human.
A normal human. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but like he's a big like villain for like the Titans and stuff like that, which would be really cool to have him like go one-on-one with Nightwing and stuff if they ever brought Nightwing into it. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, that's it as far as like the cast goes.
Yeah.
No, Harry Lennox was Calvin Swanwick, who we find out is John Jones, the Martian Manhunter.
Yep. That's it. So, Swanwick. That's what I couldn't remember.
Yeah, General Swanwick, and
that's it. Yeah.
And like, I've been a fan of his since like the Matrix movies, where he was Commander Locke. Do you remember him? He was in the Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions.
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of that third movie, but yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he was in it, and also opposite Lawrence Fishburne, who I always thought like Lawrence Fishburne would have made a great Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah, 100%. Oh yeah.
I mean, of course, he's Perry White.
Not now.
Yeah, I mean, he's Perry White in this one, but it's like I always remember like seeing the animated shows and like, man, John Jones is kind of like a green-skinned Morpheus. Like he would be great.
He really is. Yeah, he would have he has a voice for it. But so does Harry Lennox.
Yeah, Harry Lennox is great.
Yeah.
So I'm on board with that.
I'm really curious about how, like, apparently, what's his name? Zach and Ryan Reynolds actually had like real sit-down talks about putting like on
bringing his Hal Jordan back into it.
Yeah, putting him as Hal and into. I think he was supposed to be that role at the end where he talks to maybe, or is that Hal, or is that maybe Jon Stewart that he brings back?
I mean, they had an actor who was going to play Jon Stewart. I forget
Jon Stewart. Okay,
I forget the name of the actor.
Well, I do know I do know Snyder and Ryan Reynolds had actual sit-down meetings about trying to get his Hal into the movie or into the universe somehow.
Yeah.
Whether that's a post-credit scene, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure, but let's take a look at like the slate of DC films that they have, right now that are upcoming.
I look at that stuff and I get I get frustrated.
Yeah, so
because there's no Man of Steel sequel. That's what I get.
Yeah.
I get disappointed. I just get disappointed the most with that, and and they don't want to continue with the Zack Snyder stuff, and which you and I touched on that like anything can happen, but it's just the fact right now it doesn't seem like they want to do it, and there's no Man of Steel sequel, and you've got J.J. Abrams doing his Superman thing with
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Yeah,
yeah,
like what
that's a whole separate conversation. I don't even get me started on that, but that guy. But regardless, let's take a look at the slate we have right now. August 6, 2021, we have The Suicide Squad, directed by James Gunn. The guy's got a good track record as far as the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff, whether you're a fan of that or not. I saw the trailer. That looked pretty good.
Yeah,
that's coming out this summer.
Weird. It's such a weird group.
Yeah.
King Shark? That sounds weird.
Yeah, apparently Stallone is King Shark.
Oh, is that Stallone?
I didn't recognize it, but they said that was Sly as doing the voice of King Shark. So I'm I'm on board for that.
Yeah. So what else?
We have The Batman.
Oh, the Pattinson.
The Robert Pattinson one, directed by Matt Reeves. Not a part of DCEU as far as we know.
Yep.
It could have been, but
it could have been.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been like a prequel to Ben's Batman or something, which I feel like they should have done, but they want to do their own thing with it. That's already in post production.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, they've already shot it. It's in post right now, so that's happening.
It's happening for sure. I thought that movie was gonna be like a decade piece. I mean, what is that called?
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be in the 90s, which would have made sense with the timeline. Like, okay, they're going to do a prequel to Ben's thing, but that's not what they're doing.
But it's in the present.
Yeah, which
I didn't realize that.
Look, I mean, if it's a good Batman movie, I'm in for it. But
of course.
I just kind of wish it was connected to the universe. That's just my thing.
Here's the thing: Zack Snyder's Justice League talks about the multiverse.
Yeah, they sure do.
So all of this can still be part of the multiverse.
Probably, yeah. So I mean, we'll see. We'll see how that works out. I don't know how I feel about that yet. I mean, it's kind of cool, but I don't know. But let's see. What else do they have? Oh, DC Super Pets. I think that's going to be an animated thing, like for the kids.
Yeah, I don't even know about that.
Yeah, I guess it's going to be Crypto the Super Dog and Ace the Bat Hound and stuff. I'm sure. Yeah, that's not DCEU. That's like an animated thing, but it's going to be released theatrically, so we'll see how that goes. Black Adam is coming.
Yeah,
they've just started filming on it.
They have
co-produced by Dwayne Johnson and $7. They announced the cast for that. They're going to have Hawkman. They're going to have Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate.
Yes. I approve of that so much.
Yeah, Aldous Hodge is going to be Hawkman.
Bringing in the Thanagarians, huh?
Mm-hmm. They're gonna have Isis in there. Well, they're not going to call her Isis. They're going to Adriana Tomaz, or maybe they will call her Isis. I don't know, but I mean, not to be confused with the terrorist group of the same name. It's a different character. They're going to have Atom Smasher, I guess. That's interesting. So I guess maybe they're kind of trying to build the Justice Society.
Yeah, I think that's what I saw. I think that's what I read. Just Justice Society of America. Yeah.
It would be pretty cool if they wrote in like Jay Garrick, the Flash, and Alan Scott, Green Lantern, like imply that they've been around for a while, but I don't think they'll go that way. Yeah, that'd be rad.
So I did read that The Rock he's been petitioning to get the Snyderverse restored.
Oh yeah, he's definitely Team Snyder.
He is, and he basically has said out loud like he wants his Black Adam to be in the same universe as Zack Snyder's, and he specifically wants Henry Cavill's Superman
Oh
to
yeah.
be to go up against Black Adam.
Oh, of course he does.
And
He
apparently he's trying to be like
he wants to produce a Man of Steel too,
yeah,
which is amazing.
a Zack Snyder's
if
type of
if
Man
there's
of Steel
anyone who could
is.
get it done, I
It will
mean,
be
it's
him.
Dwayne Johnson. If there's anyone who has the clout to do that, but it's also like, of course he wants to fight Superman. Like his ego, of course, can't allow that not to happen, which
Right.
is great. Like, yeah, I want to see The Rock versus Superman.
Well, he's
I'm
like
in.
really good friends with Henry Cavill. He's really good.
Well, I think that they have the same agent, which
They have the
is
same agent.
who's
Yep, and they're good
Dwayne's
friends.
ex-wife, Danny Garcia.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. His ex-wife, Danny Garcia. They're still friends. They have a kid together, but she manages his career still.
Wow.
Go figure.
Wow. Well,
That's
man,
that's quite an arrangement.
I really like that The Rock is, speaking out about that. So hopefully that something comes out of that.
Right.
So what else is
I mean,
next?
plus we got John Cena as the Peacemaker in Suicide Squad.
See, that's so weird. I see I don't know. I guess I got to watch the movie, see if I'm sold on it. But like, I take a look at the trailers, I'm like, what am I watching? Like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm not sold on it right now.
They've got Starro the Conqueror in there.
Yeah,
like, that's cool.
Starro's huge in this one.
That's amazing. Like I can't believe we're in a world where they're putting Starro in the movies. That's nuts.
That is nuts.
They have a release date for that, July 29th, 2022. So next summer.
For which one?
For Black Adam. Yeah.
Next summer. Wow.
So The Flash, it's still in pre-production. They haven't started filming that yet.
Okay. So, I think to me, it seems like they're using The Flash to basically reboot this universe, to get rid of the Zack Snyder universe and, the Ben Affleck Batman. And even though he's supposed to be in it,
Supposedly, yeah.
Although I think he's probably going to be in it because he's agreeing that, like, yeah, this will be the end of Ben Affleck's, his Batman.
Maybe, yeah.
That's the way I'm looking at it.
I don't know how I feel about that, but I mean, we'll see what they do. Let's just see what happens.
Yep.
Aquaman 2, that December 16th, 2022. I love the first Aquaman movie, so I'm on board for that.
Yep.
Then they actually just had an announcement today about Shazam: Fury of the Gods.
Yep.
They've cast some of the villains. They announced today that Lucy Liu is going to be one of the villains in it.
Oh, really?
But like her character is not like from the comics. It's like her and Helen Mirren. They're both playing these characters, and I think they're like daughters of one of the Olympian gods.
Oh.
So I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm like, man, they better hurry up when it comes to making a second Shazam movie. All those Shazam kids, they're not going to stay little for very long.
No, they're not.
Like, they better hurry up before they get too old.
Man, this is just so sad. You get all these sequels to these movies, and they were well after Man of Steel, and yet we get nothing with the Man of Steel sequel.
I mean, don't get me started on the Birds of Prey thing, but
gosh, yes.
But like they're talking about putting a Batgirl movie and a Blue Beetle and Static Shock and Zatanna. Like, really, you're gonna make a freaking Blue Beetle and Zatanna movie before your next Superman movie?
Yeah.
Or your next Batman movie? Like,
yeah,
main universe Batman? I don't know.
It makes me so
boggles
mad.
my mind.
It makes me so mad.
It's like you guys haven't earned that yet,
It's just.
And then I guess John Cena's Peacemaker is getting like his own HBO show, like spun off of Suicide Squad. Okay. I guess there's going to be a Green Lantern show on HBO Max. I don't know if that's DCEU, and I guess they're going to do like a Constantine and Justice League Dark thing. I guess that's going to be on HBO Max as well.
Are they really?
According to this Wikipedia page I'm going through for DC Films.
Is this a animated or is this like live action?
I mean, I'm assuming live action, but like I don't know if it's going to be a movie or a series.
Okay, I'm out.
They've been wanting to get a Justice League Dark thing going forever. Like I remember hearing Guillermo del Toro was involved in it
Yeah,
years ago, but
forever. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Which I gotta say, I just watched the animated Justice League Dark. I absolutely loved it.
yeah,
Like, I absolutely loved it. Loved it.
yeah. Swamp Thing, Zatanna,
Yeah.
Doctor Fate.
And I just watched the Justice League Dark Apocalyptic War.
Yeah, that was nuts.
That was nuts. Like, I thought I saw that movie, but I didn't. Like, I saw the 2017 one, but I didn't see the sequel, which was apparently the last installment of
Of
that
that, yeah,
universe.
I guess.
But like, wow, that was amazing. That was amazing.
Yeah, and that was my thing with Snyder's thing. I'm like, okay, like that's great. I love seeing that animated. I don't know if I necessarily want to see a live action version of that.
Why
That's just
not?
me. I don't know.
I love John Constantine. I loved it.
Yeah.
Like,
No, he's great in that. Matt Ryan, he's awesome. So that's what's going on for the future of DC. I mean, I know like we expected this to be like a quick little thing talking about that, but hey, at least we're not going like 4 hours.
yeah.
We could if you really
So,
want us to. I mean, if you guys want it bad enough, let us know. We did take video footage of me and John watching the movie in real
yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So I might have to like cut that up and like present some highlights on my YouTube channel. I don't know. I don't know if people want
Yeah.
to see that, but we
Yeah.
had some good footage out of that.
Yeah. I'd say so. I'd say so.
So
What is your overall feeling about this movie? Do you rank it somewhere? Do you?
yeah, I don't know. I really enjoyed it. I really liked it a lot. I'm assuming they're going to put this out for like a home release. I will absolutely buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very glad that it exists.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
hope we get more of it, but if we don't, then I'm grateful we at least have this.
Yeah, definitely.
I love DC characters. I mean, I love the Marvel ones too, but I really have a special place in my heart for DC, and it's just like it's frustrating for me as a fan. It's like, you guys have all the rights to characters. I just wish DC would just get their act together when it
Yep.
comes to the movies.
Yep. I agree.
That's it.
I agree.
Because so much of this stuff could have been avoided, but
Yep. I agree. Again, I've been saying the more I watch it, the more I love this film. Every little nuance in this, there's just it's that much better. I didn't like the more I've become a lot more of a Zack Snyder fan.
hmm
I think his cinematic feel is like second to none.
yeah,
I don't think there's anyone else that I'm like trying to think of that's like comes close to
no,
making as beautiful of a movie. Especially in this one, I'm like, I literally feel like I'm like watching a real painting, like the entire time. Like,
yeah.
it's pretty
It's
amazing.
definitely a piece of art,
Yeah, and I just love that he I don't know, he really has a real respect for these characters, in my opinion. He treats them so well, like so well, and anyways, I've just come to love this movie a whole lot more, and I think it's right behind Man of Steel for me. Which
Yeah.
to me, Man of Steel is real strong. Man of Steel is my number one comic book movie, period. But I'm not gonna say it's number two out of all comic book movies. It's definitely number two for DCEU
Yeah.
for me. But like it's ranking really high as overall comic
Yeah.
book movie for me, for sure. I love
Yeah.
this movie. I'm so happy that we got it.
Thanks once again to John Walters, to Darius McDaniels, Rick Steele, Eve Steele, and David Marfit for giving their 2 cents on Zack Snyder's Justice League. This has been a little bit of a different way that I've structured my podcast before, but hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you do want us to do like a regular like scene by scene watch along, if that is something you guys want, let me know. And if you have any other requests as far as current movies or classic movies that you want to get my 2 cents on, please feel free to let me know in the comments. But most of all, make sure you follow me on Twitter at jackxconnor and like me on Facebook at facebook.com/jackconnormusic. Make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell. Feel free to check out my band Vertebreaker at facebook.com/vertebreakerband. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, in addition to leaving comments here, you could also email me at jackconnorpodcast@gmail.com, or you could tweet me with the hashtag Phoenix Report. However you're listening to this, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave a comment or a review, go back and listen to some of the other episodes. I really appreciate you guys tuning in and spending time with me, as always, whenever I put these things out. This has been the Phoenix Report. I am Jack Connor, and I'll see you later.